Welcome, everyone, to the Boiling Point podcast. I am your host, JD, and this is not going to be a numbered episode. This is the start of a new series that we're going to be putting out called The First Responders. And to join me for this is our new senior fire prevention correspondent, Mia Jean, and she is also the fire prevention coordinator with Douglas Volunteer Fire Department in Wyoming. Mia, welcome back to the Boiling Point podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, if you didn't know, Mia is the sister of Marcus Frederiksen, and Marcus Frederiksen is the man that plays us in and out of every episode of the Boiling Point podcast and everything that we produce out of Mayhem Media, our sister show. And make sure you go check out his music at reverbnation.com/Marcus Frederiksen. And of course, Mia also has a clothing line to continue Marcus's message. That's called The Humankind. You can search that on Facebook. That is where you can find her. If you want, just reach out to them on Facebook and they can get you whatever you want. They have lots of different products, so check them out and give them a like, share it out, buy something, and then also share out Marcus's music and use the hashtag The Humankind and hashtag Normalize the Good when sharing Marcus's songs. And we're not done yet. Make sure you visit our storefront, bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point podcast if you want to get yourself some gear. Mia does have a t-shirt, but it's a little too cold for the tank top, so she's wearing a different shirt this evening, but she does have one. Get yourself one as well. I'm going to be making an update to the storefront, so get yourself something now before I take off anything that you might want, something that I do frequently to keep people interested in the storefront. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, JD at Mayhem Prez. And of course, those who know me, those who are close to me know how much I hate Twitter, but it's something you have to do when doing a podcast. Mia, now that we got through all that stuff, now let's get to some content. It is Fire Prevention Week here in October, the first week in October. Why don't you can you tell us about how fire prevention got started?
Sure. So just to start, my real name is Sharamia. So those who might be watching it and might need some fire safety tips, that's how they can get a hold of me in a face-to-face conversation. Yep. And then fire prevention actually started from the Great Chicago Fire, which happened in 1871. And ever since then, well, not since then, but since the 1920s, they have had what they call Fire Prevention Week, and that week always revolves around the week of October 9th. And it's a pretty important week. NFPA actually chooses a theme every year. This year's theme is Fire Doesn't Wait, Plan Your Escape.
Yes. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the reason that Fire Prevention Week happens around October 9th is because October 9th was the date of the Great Chicago Fire. It burned more than a full day, going from October 9th into October 10th. And I have some stats here, if everybody will give me 1 second. It killed more than 250 people. It left more than 100,000 homeless. It destroyed more than 17,000 structures and burned over 2,000 acres. I'm sorry. It began on the 8th. The fire began on the 8th and went into the 9th, which is why it happens around October 9th every year because of the Great Chicago Fire. And that is about the most that I'm going to contribute to this episode, everybody, because this subject, it was a little difficult for me to try and learn. I usually don't have problems learning new topics. This one was a little difficult for me. And may I just say that Wikipedia's fire prevention page needs some serious TLC. It is terrible. Please don't go to Wikipedia to look up fire prevention tips. Don't use it at all. Use www.nfpa.org. That's where you can go to get fire prevention safety information. They can teach you how to do courses, all that. Just go to nfpa.org. Stay away from Wikipedia. That's a good topic for really anything you want to research. Just avoid Wikipedia altogether. Just don't go to it at all. So that's what I recommend for Wikipedia. It's fire prevention, and you're gonna give us a whole thing here, I think, right? You got something.
Yes. Yep. So the Douglas Volunteer Fire Department here in Douglas, Wyoming, which is the department that I am on, we actually are kicking off our fire prevention month starting in the morning with our first daycare. And we will be going in and teaching these kids the importance of knowing what happens during a fire, what happens when they hear the smoke alarm go off, and what they should and should not do.
So,
And
now, I want to tell everybody, I also wanted to mention this at the top of the episode. I forgot. These will be kid-friendly. These will be child-friendly episodes. So please, after you watch it yourself, if you'd like to watch it again with your child, please do so. We will not be dropping any swear words, nothing like that. It's all going to be fire prevention, kid-friendly. So if you want to bring your kid and show them this episode, feel free to do that as well. So you start in preschool, in
yes, daycares, preschools,
daycare.
kindergarten, and on up to 12th grade. Yep.
Well,
We
that's good.
we we train age appropriate, so everyone can learn something from someone regardless of the age. But we always like to make sure that we can actually be on the same level as the age that we're teaching for education purposes.
So you pretty much do a different. So you do a couple for different age groups then.
Yep, they all have the same information, but presentation is everything, right? So
Absolutely.
we're just, how we start off is we ask the kids, what is a smoke alarm? Where do smoke alarms belong? So living rooms, bedrooms, obviously not in the kitchen, obviously nowhere near a bathroom because steam sets off smoke alarms. Should have working ones in every bedroom, especially. So if a child or a human, but we like to say children because they're the ones who really need to learn at that
Yeah.
young age. If a child is in their room playing and they hear a smoke alarm go off, the first thing we want anybody to do is to shut their door. So if you're hanging out in your room and there's a door on your room, get that door shut if you hear a smoke alarm.
Now, what if the smoke alarm is from inside your room?
Then just leave your room and leave the premises. Hopefully,
Just
that could happen though, JD, because a lot of these newer homes, every smoke alarm is hardwired in to talk to each other. So you're going to be unsure. Obviously, check your surroundings and make
oh,
sure there's no smoke in your room. But the smoke alarm in your room could be going off because the
because
kitchen started a trend.
okay. So the new smoke alarms they go off in every room to wake everybody up, which is obviously makes sense. That's safer, but then you're also not sure of where the fire is coming from. Also,
Correct. Yep, which is why as long as there's not a fire in your room, just go ahead and shut your door. So once you have shut your door, it's always best to put something at the bottom of the door so in case there is a fire, the smoke does not come into that room that you're in. That can be
okay.
blankets, clothes, a pillow, anything of that nature, a towel, whatever the case may be, that's going to block that airflow from coming into your room.
And you don't have to worry about that igniting, just being at the base of the door.
Just being at the base of the door, because right now we're just trying to make sure that we're safe, and we don't know why that smoke alarm's going off yet, right? This is seconds. It feels like minutes and hours, but we're still at seconds here. So we've closed our door. We've put something at the bottom of it. The next important thing is to make sure that we check the door to see if it's warm or cold, because that's going to tell us how close the fire is if there is a fire. And we're always going to use the back side of our hands, never our clapping hands, is what we call them to kids.
Okay.
Yep.
And why is that? Why? Because I always thought it was, I mean, at least when you see movies and TV, the person checking, even firefighters in movies and TV are always using the palm of their hands to
Right.
check for heat.
So the first instinct of anybody with their hand and the palm side is to actually grab onto something. And so it's very difficult unless you're got some really, really good
Self-discipline.
movement. Yep. So you don't have that option. So plus calluses, like you don't feel the same with your palm as you do with the back side of your hand, which can be just a little more tender in
Okay.
feeling. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So make sure you use the back side of your hands, not the palms of your hands.
Correct.
That's definitely something I didn't know there.
Yep.
So sticking with the in your home, let's say if you make it out of the house, if you're somewhere and you hear the smoke alarm, you have easy access to get out of your house. That's what you should do, right? That's you only shut the door if you're in a bedroom and you don't know where the fire is. But if you're in a common room like the kitchen or a living room, you would want to get out of the house as long as you had a clear path to do so.
Correct. Yep.
All right. And so what happens after we get outside the house then?
So let's back up and go back into our room because we're definitely not done there yet.
All right.
So,
then I'm taking you ahead. That's my bad. Continue.
nope, you're totally fine. So we've shut our door. We've put something at the bottom of it. We've checked it. If it's warm, that means that fire is way too close and we're definitely not opening our door now because fire needs three things in order to burn. It needs oxygen, it needs heat, and it needs a fuel. So if we open that door and that door was warm, then we've just given it a fresh dose of what we call candy. And now it's oxygen rich, right? So we definitely don't want to do that. So we just keep our door closed until we get rescued in our room. The other thing is we have got to encourage our children to not hide in a fire emergency. So many kids think that that's what they should be doing. And if they're hiding, we can't find them. And that's what we stress to our kids here in Douglas. If there's a fire emergency and you're hiding, my firefighter friends won't be able to find you. So we don't hide under our bed, we don't hide under blankets or clothes, and we definitely don't hide in the closet.
So no hiding during a fire. Hiding. You want to make as much noise as possible, actually. Yell as loud as you can. And if I could be so bold, if you hear fire engines outside, if the firefighters are out, what about breaking a window or opening a window? What if you're in your room? Let's talk about that, because I was just about to suggest something that might be not the right course of action, and I shouldn't be suggesting anything in this episode. So what if you're in this room, you got the door shut, the cloth's there, there's no, you don't know where it is. What about, can you get out a window? What if you could climb out a window? Should you be opening a window?
As long as your door is shut, then yes, and it is safe for you to vacate your room, then absolutely open your window, leave your room, and get outside.
Okay. Now, so we don't confuse kids, let's just make sure we go over everything. In a worst case scenario, you got the blanket down, but let's say the fire's coming through the door. The window also shouldn't matter. You want to get out as quick as possible.
Yes.
Because with oxygen and stuff and fire, it's sometimes it can be confusing about when do you open a window, when do you shut a door. That can be confusing in a situation like that.
So you'd be surprised how receptive the kids are to the way we teach them this particular way of teaching, because we repeat, like I've repeated myself a few times here, but we literally repeat it. And I guarantee you, by the time the kids leave our fire station or by the time we leave the premises of those kids, they're going to remember it.
Yeah.
Do they need a little reminder the next time you see them? Absolutely. But when they leave there that day, chances are they're going to remember even next year when we come back.
Yeah, repetition. Repetition is key for children. I mean, it's key for adults too. That's how, adults can learn too, is by repetition.
Yep, for sure. So, and like you had mentioned, we definitely want to make a lot of noise. We want to use our outdoor voice. If there's a fire emergency, I know we're not supposed to do that if we're just playing, because kids can be real loud. But if there's a fire emergency and you're in your room stuck, we definitely need you to be loud, because fire is loud. Firefighters are loud. Like you mentioned, sirens on fire trucks are loud. There's onlookers and bystanders and people concerned standing across the street. They're going to be loud. It's just very important to make sure you don't hide and to make sure you're making a lot of noise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, are we outside the house yet, or do we still have more inside the house?
Well, we're going to stay in our room until either our parents come to the door and tell us they were cooking toast and the toaster got excited, or, which is what happens when I cook, or until the firefighters come and get us. Yep. Okay. Or, of course, unless we can get out and it's safe to do so.
Okay, so if we're in a regular area and we can get outside, or if we're in our room and we can get out a window, once we're outside, then what do we do?
So kids always need to discuss a meeting place with their parents. There are so many children and even adults who don't have a meeting place because they just don't think to get one. Meeting places should never be in your own yard, whether it be front or back, because as firefighters, we know that your house is on fire, but we don't know where we're going to need to be
Yeah.
prior to arrival. So we don't want you hanging out in your own yard. That means you need to agree with your parents and your children the next safest place to go, which could be the mailbox at your neighbor's house. If you live near the library, the police station, the post office, even the fire department, as long as you can make sure you're not in the way. Just go somewhere where your parents have said, yep, that's the safest place for you to go in an emergency.
Okay, good. And just right off of that topic, I'll be having a conversation with my 7-year-old nephew tomorrow. I think after this episode, we'll be doing that in this house. I don't think we have one of those, and I think that's something that you're bringing up some great points. And if there's other people out there, use this episode, go home and discuss with your kids a plan, because that's something a lot of people don't consider either.
Right, right. And of course, we don't necessarily want you choosing a meeting place across the street because some littles will say, oh, I need to go to the white mailbox. Well, sometimes they don't remember that the mailbox was on the same side of the street and they go to cross the street, and that's not safe. So
Yeah, you want it on the
parents
same side of the street.
yep,
Same side of the
yep,
street, but a neighbor's house so that you can make sure you're clear of danger and clear of the firefighters and the first responders.
yes, yep. And then lastly, for this part of the episode, we never want to go back into our home if our home is on fire. Not for humans, not for pets, not for toys. And that is for adults and children alike.
Yes, yes. Don't run back into the house. Wait till the first responders get there. They have the gear to go back and to go inside and help people. You do not.
Right. And that's why we have the meeting places so that parents can get a head count, make sure they
Yeah.
have everyone accountable. And then if not, they know who's missing and potentially where they'll be in the home so that we can go in.
Yes, yeah, I'm glad you brought up that because that's what I wanted to say. If someone at their meeting place, if someone's not there, then as soon as the first responders get there, you can let them know immediately and they can get in immediately because it's as terrible as it may sound, it's a different situation if there's someone in the house or if there's not someone in the house. If it's just an empty house and stuff is burning, stuff is burning. But when someone's in the house, that makes it a different situation.
Correct. And your first instinct is to save the people you love.
Yes.
It truly is. But if there's more than one person that is in the home because someone else ran in, then that's additional people for resources. So
Yeah.
it's safer just to let us go in and rescue your loved one.
You're potentially delaying the person you were going to try and save by if you go in and are unsuccessful and then the first responders have to save you first because that's the way it is. It's a triage situation. Yeah. The first one you get to, you get them out first and then you go back and then you go for the next one. But you're potentially delaying, help if you go back in and you can't make it.
Correct.
Now, what should you do if you hear a smoke alarm? Let's say I'm in my house or I'm outside in my yard or whatever, and I hear the neighbor's smoke alarm. What should I do if I hear a neighbor's smoke alarm?
So don't approach the building. I mean, if you want to go outside and from a very safe distance, see if you can see any smoke billowing, maybe call your neighbor and see if you can reach them, see if they're home, if they're not home. But of course, if you do see smoke or you do see flames, instantly call 911. Instantly.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, should you wait? Now, let's say I'm outside and, whatever I'm doing outside, but I hear my neighbor's smoke alarm going off. Should I immediately call 911? Should I try and investigate first?
You should immediately call 911. I mean, you don't know why the smoke alarm's going off. You can't see. But
Yeah.
if you definitely see smoke and flames, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you see
Yep.
smoke and flames, of course, call. But yes, that's what I wanted to clarify. What if I just heard the smoke alarm? I don't see any smoke or flames necessarily, but I hear a neighbor's smoke alarm going off.
Yeah, because it could be hidden in the walls. It could be so
Yeah.
very, very centrally located and it just hasn't escaped into the outside yet. Yeah.
And never go inside, not even neighbors. And I assume that would also apply, of course. If you're walking by, you see a business on fire, you want to call 911. You don't want to go inside. You don't want to get close.
Correct. Yep. Correct.
Let the professionals handle it. Okay. Well, we discussed why we don't hide during a smoke emergency. What about crawling? What if you're in a house that's on fire and there's smoke already in your room? Let's say the doors was open, it happened, you didn't have time to shut the door. If you're in your room, there's smoke already. What should you do then?
Sure. So heat rises, right? So does smoke because smoke is very warm. So if smoke goes up, then we definitely need to be down on the floor and in a much cleaner air control. It's not perfect, but it's much cleaner.
Now, if we wake up, there's smoke in our room, we get to the floor, what should we do at that point? There's clearly a fire inside the house. What should we
Yep. Shut,
do? What
yep.
should we
Shut
do
your
if
door.
okay, so if you're in your room, regardless of whether you see smoke or see flames, doesn't matter, shut your door.
Yep. Yep. And I'll send you a either a picture or a link. I think I've got pictures that you can add of the difference between a fire that in the same house, one bedroom had the door open, the other bedroom had the door shut,
Okay,
and
great.
the door that was shut, hardly even any smoke damage in that bedroom.
Okay, great. Oh yeah, that'll be good.
Yep.
That'll be great. Yeah, I'll put that up. So at this point right now, I probably have those pictures up for you. You're probably looking at them while we were discussing it. Because while I don't have them now, I certainly did in post production. So yeah, I'll definitely add those, and so everybody can see that. That's
Yep.
I'm sure since you're seeing it right now, people who are listening or watching, that it's quite. I imagine it's quite a bit of difference.
And
Um,
there are a lot of parents who are like, "Oh, if I shut my kid's door, I can't hear them," or it scares me because,
yeah,
well, fires shutting the door during a fire saves lives too. So it's very beneficial at that point to get the monitors so that you can hear what's happening in your
exactly.
kid's
That's
room and
that's what I was
shut
just
that
about to
door.
say. With technology today, you can get an intercom system. That's not very much money. You can get an intercom system so that you can still hear what's happening. And there's also lots of different types of locks that you could get for windows from the inside to make sure that no one from the outside can get in even through a window. There's lots of window locks out there. Safety first. Safety first, then teamwork. That's what we say around here. So, all right. What if we are awake? What if we catch ourselves on fire? What if we find ourselves on fire, even through spontaneous combustion?
So the most important thing, should you find yourself on fire, is to stop what you're doing, drop to the ground very gently, because I did have one kid demonstrate how to drop and he darn near face planted. So obviously we want to be safe about it. And we want to make sure we roll until that fire is out.
The
And we're
roll.
going to cover our face when we do so that I like to tell the little kids is so that I don't bang my big nose, but we don't want to get that smoke and breathe it in.
Yeah,
So
after you've
cover our
extinguished the
face
fire.
while we're rolling. Yep. Just keep rolling till the fire's out.
Yep, just keep rolling until the fire's out. And cover your face. Yep, stop, drop, and roll. Of course, yes, kids, make sure you're dropping safely. You don't want a concussion. You don't want to knock yourself out on the drop. How are you going to roll if you're
Correct.
unconscious?
Correct.
So yeah, stop, drop, and roll. That's probably the very first thing that came out in fire safety was stop, drop, and roll. That was, if I'm not mistaken, actually, I'll look that up for the next episode. But I'm likely thinking that's probably the very first thing they instituted was stop, drop, and roll, teaching kids and people to stop, drop, and roll if they were on fire.
Right.
Um, well, I think that's about it for fire prevention. Is there anything that you that you wanted to talk about that we jumped over or missed?
Yes. So your smoke alarm should be tested at least twice a year. We like to check ours around the daylight savings time slots, so that it's kind of fresh and ingrained. And it's daylight savings time. Oh, that's right. I need to check the batteries on my smoke alarm.
Yeah.
Smoke alarms are typically, depending on which kind you buy, and I'm not speaking for any one manufacturer, only good for 10 years. So you definitely want to make sure that you're constantly checking your smoke alarms and making sure that they're up to date and in good working order.
And you want one in every room of the house except the kitchen?
Every bedroom. Yep, not the kitchen. And not a hallway next to a bathroom. So living room.
Okay.
Yep, living room and all the bedrooms.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Yes, I think
if you install them yourself, then make sure you're reading the manufacturer's instructions.
Yes, please read the instructions.
While they all seem like they're very much the same, just make sure you're reading manufacturer's instructions, and those instructions will give you the good locations of where to place them too.
Yeah. Placement is also very important with smoke alarms. So make sure you do read the instructions. It is very important where you place them. That means seconds matter in a fire. So the sooner the smoke alarm's going off, the sooner you know about it and can get to safety. So placement is definitely key. You don't want to be putting it behind the couch on the floor.
Right. Yep.
And that's just what I've contributed to this episode. A little bit of comic relief and not really much else. You could have put me in the element with the elementary kids for all I knew about fire safety before this episode, which is why we did it this way, which is why I told her, I said, Leah, let's just do the kids one. Let's keep them kid friendly. That way, if adults want to show them to their kids, then they can do that too. So we're going to keep these kids friendly. I'm going to work real hard at that. So yes, they will be kid friendly, and we're going to do a whole series. This one was fire prevention. We may even do another fire prevention. Once we cycle through all of the different episodes that we want to get up, we may do one more with fire prevention. But the next one I believe we're doing, Mia, is highway safety, if I'm not mistaken. So that will be our next first responders episode. We're going to talk about highway safety and a bunch of different stuff that I will know much more better than I did the fire, because the fire was just an Achilles heel to me. Didn't really work. Mia, thank you for being on, taking the time to be on during your very busy schedule, because I know how busy you are. So thank you for taking the time to come on and for doing this series. Shout outs to the Douglas Volunteer Fire Department, Mia Jean, who is their fire prevention coordinator, and she is also the Boiling Point Podcast fire prevention correspondent, senior fire prevention correspondent. Marcus Frederiksen is going to play us out. ReverbNation.com/Marcus Frederiksen. Go share out your favorite song. Use the hashtag TheHumankind and normalize the good. All our storefronts, everything is available in the link in the description of this video, including link to Mia's clothing line and my storefronts, links to everything. So check the description of this video if you want to check out any of our stuff. I am your host, JD, and that's going to be the end. I'm not around, have you found? I'm always on your